Moments ago, influencer Mr. Fafo was taken down and finished. And it wasn't Israel, because now we're in a ceasefire and it's been several hours already. How could Mr. Fafo have been taken down during a supposed ceasefire? It was the Gazans themselves. A Gazan influencer known as Mr. Fafo, sometimes dressed as a Hamas member and other times as a dad, sometimes as a patient, a media figure, or an injured person. When it was October 7th, and this is the image, he celebrated the attacks of October 7th. Here I show you a video of Mr. Fafo celebrating what they did to us on October 7th. This video was taken on October 7th, recorded by himself. The video is sped up. This isn't an isolated case. Watch the October 7th videos. Gazans celebrated, even hitting and beating the kidnapped people as the jeeps passed by. Those are the so-called innocent Gazans, while they commit the worst atrocities of modern times. Shouting, "God is great, God is great." Tell me, is any religion so psychopathic to do this? He had press status as a journalist because, in Gaza, to have journalist status, all you have to do is be a member of the Hamas organization. And they distribute them, since that's an issue. That's why Israel, to some extent, doesn't allow a large presence of journalists, because for Israel it's very difficult to distinguish journalists from terrorists. Although there are journalists, in fact, for example, but they're journalists who have guts, like those from Radio Televisione Italiana, for example, which is this news network that goes in and reports, not like the Spanish journalists who literally tremble just thinking about going to report in Gaza. They send influencers to take photos on Gaza's shores. In any case, this influencer, Mr. Fafo, was just killed a short while ago. He was killed, but not by Israel, since we are in a ceasefire that's lasted several hours. In fact, Israel, we withdrew from those areas where the event that led to his death happened. And you might think, what? How could Mr. Fafo have been killed if there's supposedly a ceasefire now? Who was it? It was the Gazans themselves. There are tribes, those who think Palestinians are a people or a nationality. They're not. The only ones who believe that are Westerners. The so-called Palestinians are various tribes that Pan-Arabism grouped under a single passport called Palestine. But they're not a people. They're tribes that fight among themselves, that hate each other, that don't marry each other. Even in Arabic, they say Mushmina, meaning he's not one of us. Tribes and Ashira use this term among themselves, calling themselves Arab, like clans or tribes. And those from the clan known as Damash, which is one of the clans in Gaza, took him down because he's a supporter of Hamas. And now, since the Damash clan is taking advantage of Hamas being weak, that's the conflict right now. So the Damash are fighting against Hamas at this very moment as I'm speaking to you. They're in a civil war. They've always been in a civil war. Since Israel handed the Strip to Gaza, a civil war began. In fact, Fatah and Hamas have also been in a civil war since day one, and that's one of the things I tell you. One of the big mistakes is to think that the creation of a Palestinian state is the solution when it is not. It's precisely the way they will end up destroying each other. Consider this. Syria united many ethnic groups under one passport. Civil wars, dictators, poverty, and corruption occurred. The same thing happened in Libya, the same in Lebanon, the same in all these countries, because they think that creating one more Arab country called Palestine, because they think that's going to solve anything. Haven't they learned from last century's history and how these events lead to self-destruction? Please wake up, react. And these are the consequences of the terror that exists among themselves. Just think if they're able to kill their own cousins and clansmen. Because there's a saying in Arabic, me and my brother against my cousin, me and my cousin against my neighbor. For those 2 years, it was my neighbor and me against the Jew because we were at war. But when my fight with my neighbor is over, because of the ceasefire, then again, I go back to fighting against my neighbor and against my cousin. They are always in civil wars. In Islam, they are said to be condemned to constant conflict. And that's why events like this happen. Creating a new Palestinian state would just be another mistake. That's why we shouldn't be naive. Israel's struggle against them is perpetual. They'll always seek the other's destruction and dominance, viewing the Jew as inferior, so this attitude will persist. So, I wanted to tell you that, so you simply avoid naivety. And because surely if this had happened not during the ceasefire, even knowing that it was the Damish tribe against themselves, against the Hamas members, fighting among themselves, that's been happening since the war began. They keep destroying each other. Even if it had happened, if this had occurred not during the ceasefire, they would have blamed Israel for killing this guy. I assure you, I guarantee they would have said, oh, Israel ends the life of an influencer. He was a journalist and also an influencer known for his videos. I'll explain what Mr. Fafo did when he was alive. He organized a fundraiser to build a supposed hospital in Gaza. He took advantage of his large social media reach. He became famous after October 7th due to his lies in all these shows. Here he's acting like a dead body bag, and here he's acting like he's injured with a broken arm, and they're all performances. He's a paramedic here, see? Now he's a doctor. So what he did was take advantage of his large social media reach and organized a fundraiser collecting $13 million. Do you think he started a hospital project? Did he start doing something? Nothing. Zero. And what he did manage to do was steal the money and get rich. At the expense of the suffering of the Gazans, do you think he has any remorse? Why would he have any if the Gazans themselves have been doing that for as long as I can remember? Why do you think the Hamas emirs in Qatar, or those who are now escaping to Turkey, why do you think they have so much money? Because they use the Mr. Fafo technique, which is to collect millions of dollars with the sympathy and hearts of poor Westerners. Well, of rich Westerners. Their hearts melt when they see rubble and they send their money in large amounts. And that's how these guys raise millions of dollars. That's how the conflict continues. Because for the leaders of Hamas and all of this, it's very convenient for them that the sympathy and the hearts of Westerners continue. The numbers, the victims, all of that serves their interests. How else will they keep their Ferraris fueled and their champagne glasses full in Qatar? Even though in Islam it's haram, drinking alcohol is forbidden. You'll see photos of Hamas leaders. Remember, Hamas is an Islamist group. What's its definition? Hamas means enthusiasm in Arabic, but it's an acronym for Harakat al-Muqawma al-Islamiyah, the Islamic resistance movement. It's a religious movement, but its leaders drink champagne, get drunk, and throw parties. Photos exist of all this. Search Ismail Hania, Khaled Mashal, Hamas leaders in Qatar. Who funds their parties? From their humble followers, the Europeans who donate money left and right, and also the United States donates money left and right. That's the situation, so we shouldn't be naive. And if things like this happen, call it a tragedy, call it an event, call it whatever you want. Watch the videos there to see how it happened and how they're fighting. I also saw the video, not the video, but I saw a photo. I have it here. I'm not going to show it on YouTube. Obviously, it's very sensitive. Of how the guy is already inside a bag. I hope it's not a show, because you know those guys love to act a lot. But he's already covered with a sheet, lifeless. You understand? It's complicated, which is why those are the consequences. Now, they can't blame Israel because since Israel stopped the fire, they can't blame us now. Now, let's move on to the next topic. Sylvia presents an interesting theory here. What if they didn't kill Mr. Fafo for the money and to stop people from searching for him? That would be an interesting twist. We don't know. Those guys are such psychopaths that who knows?